My boyfriend, 33M, and I, 23M, broke up a few days ago. How should I respond to this?
See my previous post for context, attached below. We broke up 3 days ago and I received this last night.
I hope you know that even though I hung up on you, I am very heartbroken. I have been thinking about us since Tuesday and I still don't understand why you felt the need to end things so harshly. I have never cared about anyone as much as you and I hate that in a moment I just don't hear from you anymore. It feels like my feet were pulled out from under me.
I hope that one day we can have a better conversation than our last call about us and why you were unhappy. I hate leaving things as they stand currently after all this time together.
I addressed everything in my last post with him and I let him know that the relationship was over, but he kept pressing for more, like my reasons were not sufficient. But, I am feeling really guilty. How should I respond to this?
Or do I just leave it be? Underscore. Hi Reddit.
This is my first relationship, and my boyfriend, 33M, and I, 23M, have been together for 3 years, 2 of which have been long distance.
I have determined that I want to end things with him, but I just don't know how.
How do I break up with him the right way?
I'll spare you the full details of our relationship, but I believe some context is necessary.
If you had asked me last year if I wanted to marry my boyfriend, I would have answered with a resounding yes.
Today, I can't imagine marrying him, and that's the crux of the issue. When we first met, we lived in the same city. I was in college, and he had already graduated and was doing well for himself.
About a year into our relationship, his mom informed me that he was moving across the country for a better job. While I was happy for him and glad he took the opportunity, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been left out of that decision. At the time, I brushed it off. After all, we had only been dating for a year.
He told me he wanted to continue our relationship and eventually marry me, so I stayed with him.
He asked if I would consider moving to his city after I finished college, but I hesitated because all my friends and family are here. He gave me a strange look and said, "That's not a good reason not to move up here."
Initially, I felt hurt, but I dismissed it as overthinking. I told myself he was probably right, and we moved on.
However, last night I mentioned that I was considering staying in my city for another year to obtain my CPA license, and he simply said, "No, you're not.
I want you up here." When I expressed that I felt unsupported in my goals, his response was, "You agreed to move up here when you finished school."
After reflecting on this today, I've realized that he showed me very little respect when he first moved away and even less respect when he continually dismissed my feelings about moving and other matters. Now, here's where I need your input. I will not marry someone who doesn't respect me, but I just don't know how to end it.
I want to do it in a way that's considerate to him,
at least as much as breaking up can be.
He's driving up to see me next weekend, and I'm considering doing it then.
Or should I do it before?
I'm just not sure. Any advice you can provide would be tremendously valuable. Thank you.
Don't respond at all. You broke up, you made your decision, now stick to it. Based on your previous post, I'd say you made the right decision. Now that you have broken up with him, you no longer have any responsibility to respond to every little thing he says to you. If you don't know what to say, don't say anything.
You are released from that burden. Of course he is still heartbroken and doesn't understand. For 3 years, he had someone who he didn't consider when he was in a relationship.
He made his own decisions about his future and career without consulting his future spouse because he didn't care about how you felt or about your career.
He expected you to roll over and do whatever he wanted because he was in first place in the relationship. The relationship wasn't equal or fair. He didn't respect you in the relationship, and now he's doing the same with the breakup. Honestly, I don't believe in this situation that he deserves an answer to this message. You already addressed everything, and I fear if you answer, he'll just drag it out longer, continuing to disrespect your feelings.
Don't respond. It's not that he doesn't understand. He thinks that if he keeps pressuring you, you'll be worn down and change your mind.
If he respected you, he'd accept a breakup and leave you alone.
If you think he's going to do something crazy like show up at your door, don't block him. You might need his texts for a restraining order.
He dated a much younger, unestablished person because he thought he could control them. Unfortunately for him, you seem to have a spine and his attempts to control you failed. Everything you've said here leads me to believe you made the right decision.
If you keep contact with him, he's just going to keep guilting you and trying to worm his way back in. You gave your reasons, and if they are not sufficient to him, that's his problem. You don't owe anyone an endless back and forth.
Live your life, be happy and meet someone new.
You're gonna hit 30 and be disgusted this dude was into you when you were 20 to begin with. You don't need a sufficient reason to end a relationship because you don't need to have permission to leave. If you want out for any reason, that is perfectly fine. You don't need to justify yourself any further. How do you move on?
You block him everywhere.
This guy is gross for going after a 20-year-old when they're 30. He is very clearly trying to manipulate you by saying he's not satisfied with your reasons. Well, that's tough shit. He can't control you to make you stay because that's abuse. Wife's text to her longtime friend, what should I do? Any advice?
22M22F. This is the word-for-word text she sent to him.
Hey, I know the past few convos we've had didn't go too well. I hate Snap.
I wish we could have had a conversation or call like I asked to. I wanted to clear some air before we did anything.
NNNDDD, it made me very upset that you assumed I wanted something long-term. I am a mother, and my co-parenting relationship with is more important than anything because of my son.
I only want a FWB situation.
Buick, you need to understand my wants if you want me. I love conversation, at the very least a heads up that you're coming to. I just feel like you've changed since you stopped trying to get my attention. I'd love a night with you, but I need a heads up and some respect.
No ghosting. Remember where you stand. Obviously I'm thinking about you tonight, so call me if you want. We have a 2-year-old together and she has brought up divorce and arguments many times in the past 2 years.
That's clear as day cheating. What should I do?
Find a lawyer.
And don't cope with the bottle.
I only want a FWB. Your wife is literally begging for a fuck buddy.
It made her upset. He wanted AOWNTHING more. Good God, your wife is fucking ruthless.
I was about to say I pray you don't have kids, but honestly it's foul that she has a child begging for a fuck buddy. Take your child and leave, and when she texts you asking where you are, simply send her text to him as a reply. She told her fuck buddy you two are co-parents.
Sorry bud, she's checked out of your marriage.
She thinks of you with such contempt she tells others you ain't her husband.
Complete disrespect and disdain.
Obviously she's had or wants to have a FWB relationship with her longtime friend, and he has expressed to her that he wanted a long-term relationship, which she rejected.
She seems to want him for friendship and sex, but keep you around to be a father to your son.
My guess is she has or will be banging him soon. First of all, you need to get a DNA test to confirm that your son is yours. Secondly, you need to see an attorney to give guidance on how you construct a custody agreement as part of your divorce.
Finally, you tell your wife that you know she's been cheating on you with her friend, and that you are divorcing her. Save evidence. Get a lawyer.
Divorce. Move on as a co-parent.
She's a cold-blooded cheat.
Your wife told a guy you're co-parenting lawyer up on the sly and bulldoze her.
Do I, 25M, leave my girlfriend, 25F, for getting more and more nasty? So I have been with this girl since we were both 16, childhood sweethearts kinda thing.
She got pregnant and we had our child at 19. I've always been the one to support her working full-time at multiple different jobs, some being very shit, but I kept working nonetheless. I noticed things like her saying her and child's name, never really talking like us as a family, always seeming to be her and our child.
Kinda made me feel like an outsider in my own family.
Our kid is in full-time education. My partner doesn't have a job, so I'm the sole provider and was recently made redundant, now in a job that pays less than what I had just till I get something better. But I've noticed since money has been tighter, she's making more nasty comments. Says things like, well, this is our house. Again making me feel like an outsider and that I have no claim to anything, even though I'm the one paying for it all. She's refused to let our 5-year-old sleep in their own bed without her beside them. When I've challenged this, she turned around to tell me that she doesn't want to sleep next to me. I think to try hurt me.
I don't know what to do. I've done everything, gotten myself into a lot of debt to make sure she has a place with these nice things and goes to trips as a family she wants. All for her to ignore anytime I give advice as a dad or have some input that she doesn't like. I get a nasty or hurtful comment. Things like if my kid swears at me, I take an iPad away.
I'm super stressed with the debt and work situation, and her not working at all does kinda get to me, seeing as our kid now goes to school full-time. Has anyone had a similar story and advice on where I go from here? Is this the environment you want your child to think is healthy and normal? I would strongly recommend counseling or something to impress upon her the seriousness of the issues you two are facing, but if that doesn't work, don't stay in a relationship that is unhealthy.
Go to the courthouse and file for joint custody and an eviction.
This is no way to live.
I'd tell her that she's going to be needing a job.
She can get that job and contribute to the family same as you've been doing, or she can use that job to support herself completely because you will leave if this bullshit continues. You should break up with her. She doesn't seem to care about you.
Do you want your child to grow up thinking this is the way you treat a loved one?
Talk to a family law attorney right away about custody and unraveling joint assets ASAP. It's time for you two to go separate ways. One-sided relationships will never last. The only thing they build is resentment. She doesn't seem to respect you because you are not requiring her to. I would just let her know that you're not happy with the relationship, and if it doesn't change, there won't be one.
You have been taken for granted as a given. You need to become a variable that may not support her.
She will be nasty, but wait and see when she has to go looking for an apartment or pay rent how she changes her tune.
You may have to pay child support, but you're not going to pay for her housing. You're not married.
Time to man up and face your bully. I 26F don't know if my military husband 29M is cheating or not. Throw away for anonymity.
So, I'm married to a guy in the military. We've been together 6 years and he's never really given me much of a reason to suspect he's cheating ever.
But shit is starting to not add up.
We got into an argument because he was starting to get very distant and straight up left me on read for almost 2 weeks for asking him what's going on with him and continuously asking if he's cheating, which his reaction to that is to get angry that it ever even consider.
He bought a second phone a few months ago, one for better service, which seemed legit, but now I'm questioning.
And out of nowhere he picked up the phone super drunk after I've been calling all week saying he wants to go to hell. He's not a good man and he bought a hotel room, alone, for the weekend, and he's being super weird with me calling back because he's overwhelmed and depressed and losing himself.
But I told him I'm his wife. He cannot ignore me and tear us apart like that.
Now he's saying he wants to just disappear and move to Texas.
Without me. I've been waiting for him to come home for so long and have put so much effort and time and patience into being a military spouse because it's tough. But for him to act like this it's weird, and it broke my heart.
He's extremely adamant about not cheating on me, but he did mention he might get into a fight because some girl liked him, called him. He said he wasn't interested in IDK.
Her feelings are hurt, so some guy wants to fight me. I have no idea why someone would want to fight you for rejecting a girl when you're married. All my high school trauma of getting cheated on over and over are flooding back, and I honestly genuinely cannot take the pain of going through this again. He is my forever person and I've put my soul into him. That being said, this trust is based off of actions over the years which must be taken into consideration. Too long did not read. He has 2 phones, isn't talking to me much anymore, and is plastered getting a motel room for himself for the weekend while someone on base wants to fight him for turning some girl down. And he won't say I love you back. Sad face. Any help in figuring this out would mean the FC King world to me. Tia Pink Heart. Sounds like you've got good instincts and he's probably cheating. Everything you mentioned doesn't add up if he's a person of integrity and love with his wife. A husband should protect and prioritize his marriage. Investing his spare time with his wife. You've got the dots all over the place. Most likely he's having an affair. How can you prove it? Review bank records, cell phone log, credit card statements, and location sharing. Maybe hire a pie? Something's up. I think you're one smart lady, though I'm sorry he's too cowardly to admit the truth. Ask a divorce lawyer about proving it and get ready to bounce. Take full alimony.
If he didn't want to pay you, he shouldn't have taken you for a ride marrying you and cheating. Don't think about how he feels about the alimony and getting in trouble with the military for cheating any more than he cares about you when he's balls deep in whoever he thinks matters more than you do.
Could be a mental health crisis as well?
Has he PTSD?
TBH, I'd post this into a military spouses forum. I think you'd get some good contacts there if you told them what branch he is and where.
They'd probably find out the truth for you real quick.
It seems he wants out of the relationship for some reason.
He might be cheating.
Or, as someone else said, he might be having a mental health crisis.
And if someone I was in a relationship with constantly phoned me to ask if I was cheating, I'd leave them on read too.
So,
recognize that he might be cheating, and that if he is, you will survive it, even though it will hurt like hell. But also recognize that you might be being guided by your old trauma, and that if you are, you might be wrong.